now solved. And it's so much more ugly and more psychotic than any of us could have possibly envisioned. Essentially, she got caught filing a sham lawsuit.
Blake Lively arrested. Yep, that's right. The internet is in total shock after explosive reports revealed that the Gossip Girl star was taken into custody for allegedly lying to the court. A police chief has now spoken out about the situation, and what he revealed is turning everything upside down. Apparently, Blake filed a sham lawsuit as a cover to mislead the court, and the judge is reportedly far from pleased. Fans are now questioning everything Blake has ever said, while Justin Baldoni could very well be the one getting the final say. So, what really went down behind the scenes, and what's the deal with this sham lawsuit? Over the weekend, it came to light that Blake had filed a highly questionable lawsuit before publicly accusing Justin of mistreatment, and that single revelation has completely shifted the trajectory of the case, leaving both the public and Hollywood observers stunned.
Everybody in the New York Times, the PR firms, Brian Friedman must be having an absolute field day.
According to reports, the lawsuit was filed in September with Blake Lively's company, Vanzen, listed as the plaintiff. The goal was reportedly to subpoena allegedly incriminating text messages from Justin Baldoni's former PR team, while keeping Lively's name off the paperwork. Justin's ex-publicist Stephanie Jones and her company, Jones Works, were served with a subpoena from New York attorney Samantha Kotza, requesting all communications and documents related to Baldoni, Lively, and her husband Ryan Reynolds. Additionally, court documents claimed that up to 10 individuals had allegedly caused harm to the plaintiff's business and reputation. For those catching up, here's a quick overview of everyone involved in the case.
Movie and Jones Work PR, which is run by Stephanie Jones. She's the coffee and Adderall is life woman, okay, is doing the PR for Wayfarer Studios. That's Justin Baldoni, Steve Sarowitz. She is doing, her firm is doing the PR for this film. But she's not personally managing that PR. She has someone under her named Jennifer Abel, who you see there, and she is dealing with this quote-unquote smaller account. And by smaller account, I mean that while Stephanie Jones is out flying around with Jeff Bezos and his soon-to-be wife, Jennifer Abel is dealing with this little baby account that only earns them $20K a month for the firm. Jennifer Abel decides that she wants to leave this firm and she wants to start her own firm. Justin Baldoni and Steve Sarowitz are like, we are going with you if you're going independent because you're the only one we even know at this firm, and we're happy to stay your little account. And Stephanie Jones is like, nah, that is not happening. I am Stephanie Jones. I'm married to a bigwig over at WME. No one leaves Stephanie. I mean, we're talking like toxic relationship with your employer.
While Stephanie Jones handed over private messages between former staffer Jennifer Abel, who worked with Justin Baldoni, and PR crisis manager Melissa Nathan, the implications were huge. Blake Lively reportedly relied on these texts to justify her smear campaign accusations in August 2024. The messages, stored on a device Jones provided to the attorney, allegedly showed Abel and Nathan discussing plans targeting Blake, with one text from Nathan reading, "We can bury anyone." These very messages were later cited in a New York Times expose in December 2024. Yet, the lawsuit that provided Blake with this material was withdrawn on December 19, 2024, just days before she filed her mistreatment complaint against Baldoni with the California Civil Rights Department, a timing fans have called highly suspicious. Attorney Ron Zamrin described the move as super shady, claiming it was intentionally done in a clandestine manner. Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, echoed the sentiment, stating that Blake and Ryan Reynolds' company, Vanzen, had no legitimate role in the lawsuit and knew it, asserting that the sham filing was used solely to gain subpoena power without oversight, effectively denying his clients the ability to challenge it. Friedman emphasized that filing fictitious lawsuits with no legal basis constitutes bad faith and a blatant abuse of process. Despite these accusations, Blake's legal team pushed back in media statements, asserting there was nothing improper. Attorneys Ezra Hudson and Mike Gotadl told Deadline that the lawsuit was a lawful, thorough investigation, employing standard tools like civil subpoenas to pursue claims and identify unknown perpetrators of unlawful activity. According to them, The texts merely revealed a documented plan by the Wayfarer party to undermine Blake without transparency or notice, and that Lively voluntarily disclosed the subpoena in her initial filing, knowing it would eventually be shared during discovery. Fans, however, remain skeptical of these explanations. Early on, Abel admitted that she and Nathan had prepared for the lawsuit, saying, "It's our job to be ready for any scenario," but noted that they didn't have to act because the internet was doing the work for us, a post later deleted from Facebook. The confusion over how Stephanie Jones was able to provide the evidence to Blake initially contributed to public mistrust. With all these revelations, the situation is clearer. The New York Times article, combined with the incriminating texts and the suspicious timing of the lawsuit withdrawal, paints a complicated picture of strategic legal maneuvering, raising questions about ethics, intent, and the lengths parties went to protect or attack reputations. This entire sequence illustrates why fans remain doubtful of Blake's long explanations, as the combination of secretive subpoenas, selective evidence disclosure, and highly coordinated legal steps suggests an unusually aggressive strategy that has reshaped public perception of the case.
This missing piece of what Stephanie Jones was saying, that she was complying with a subpoena.
And now it all starts to make sense. Notably, the Vanson lawsuit filed on Blake Lively's behalf didn't mention Blake or her husband Ryan Reynolds anywhere in the court documents, almost as if they wanted to avoid being officially tied to the case in any way. But that's just the beginning. Fans examining the lawsuit closely discovered that the legal team behind it has a history of pulling similar moves. Specifically, ML Management's partners, the registered agent for Blake's company, handled the filing. For context, ML Management is a CPA firm responsible for annual business filings, tax management, and client payments, essentially taking care of all administrative and legal paperwork for their clients, which have included high-profile names like Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock, and Ryan Reynolds. It's important to understand the role of a registered agent. This entity or person receives official legal documents on behalf of the business, including lawsuits, legal notices, or tax papers. They handle the paperwork but aren't directly involved in the legal strategy. Another key detail, the Vanson lawsuit didn't name any of the individuals suspected of wrongdoing. Instead, it listed a long string of Jane Does. While including Doe defendants can be standard practice to allow lawyers to add parties during trial if necessary, it's highly unusual not to mention any real defendants at all, which is exactly what this lawsuit did. Fans also noticed that the lawsuit can't even be found in the Supreme Court of the state of New York, where it was supposedly filed.
Why?
Because the subpoena was written vaguely, with no request for judicial notice, and no judge was ever assigned to the case. This appears intentional, a way to keep fans and the public from digging into the details. The combination of omitting the plaintiffs' names, listing only Doe defendants, and filing without proper judicial oversight strongly suggests that the lawsuit was structured to give Blake and her team access to subpoena power while keeping their names and involvement hidden, raising serious questions about transparency, intent, and the legality of their strategy. Fans following the case now see this as a deliberate move to manipulate the legal process, reinforcing the idea that the Vanson lawsuit was far from ordinary and designed to operate under the radar.
Trying to work backwards to legitimize something that they likely stole. So I'm going to read you directly from this sham lawsuit. It writes, it accuses the 10 Jane Does of, quote, "They have participated and may continue to participate in efforts to harm plaintiff, including by failing to act in plaintiff's best interests, taking actions to their personal benefit at plaintiff's expense, failing to freely communicate with plaintiff regarding matters that impact plaintiff's business and reputation, and disclosing to third parties, and failing to keep strictly confidential plaintiff's confidential and or private information." This is just words. Like Samantha Katz, okay, was just typing words.
But why would the firm and Blake go to such lengths? It turns out Jessica was summoned to Stephanie's office just before quitting and was pressured into handing over her devices, which is how Stephanie obtained access to all the sensitive information used in the case.
Chief level, I think it was the CEO there, she's got security, and she's like, "We need your phone because we have a subpoena that we're complying with." and we're taking your personal phone. Jennifer Abel's crying. She's like, I've had this phone number since high school. What do you mean? It has all my pictures, my Facebook, everything. And she's like, nah, hand over your phone right now. It's going down like this, okay?
The wildest part is that this wasn't a scheme Blake, her company, or Stephanie could have orchestrated alone. That's where the LLC comes into play. By taking Jessica's phone without justification, Blake, the team, and everyone involved ended up causing even more legal and reputational damage.
And I'm going to tell you, this is me reading into the situation now, was they took her phone, they were going to hand it to the New York Times, and then somebody in the group, maybe it's Ryan Reynolds, I think it's Ryan Reynolds, says, whoa, was that legal? We have the messages and we're going to go to press and we're going to fight this in the New York Times, but like, can we get in trouble? And they all scrambled on the back end and they said, holy crap, we need to pretend that there's a real subpoena. Otherwise, you maybe just stole your employee's phone and now we're about to go to the New York Times. So they actually found a lawyer to give them advice and to tell them how to file a fake lawsuit so that they could use that fake lawsuit to pretend that they legally took Jennifer Abel's.
However, the subpoena effectively shields Ryan, Blake, and the others from any consequences related to the phone taken from Stephanie, the device containing all the incriminating texts that could have caused serious trouble.
Case that sat in court for the sole purpose of a subpoena to Stephanie Jones, in my opinion, okay? But no judge was assigned to the case, so therefore no judge could have signed off on a subpoena. In the state of New York, you don't need a judge to sign off on a subpoena, you only need a clerk. I haven't seen a copy of the subpoena yet, so if and when that becomes public, we'll see if it's signed by anyone. But Samantha does know that there's an ethical way and a non-ethical way to do these types of laws.
Fans also started scrutinizing Samantha Katz, the attorney who filed the case, and discovered there was a reason she was chosen. She had prior experience handling complex situations like this. Back in 2016, Samantha worked on a federal case in the Southern District of New York titled Publishers Clearinghouse Visa XYZ Companies 1 to 25 and John and Jane Does 1 to 25. That lawsuit addressed serious allegations including trademark infringement, unfair competition, false designation of origin, and computer fraud. The plaintiffs claimed that unknown parties were impersonating Publishers Clearinghouse through fraudulent emails and ads, possibly using malicious code to hijack websites, deceiving consumers into believing they were entering legitimate sweepstakes. Her experience with high-stakes, technically complicated cases made her uniquely equipped to manage the legal strategy in Blake Lively's situation.
They're actors and entertainers, so that would be hard for me to imagine that they do. They're running it through an LLC for a tax benefit, which they're likely just doing renovations to their homes. Who knows? I'm not an IRS agent, but this is a really stupid thing to do.
In simple terms, the 2016 case involved defendants sending emails using the Publishers Clearinghouse trademark, which was illegal. Since their identities were unknown, the plaintiffs requested the court's permission to conduct limited pre-litigation discovery under Rule 26F of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. They submitted letters seeking authorization to issue subpoenas to ad servers, email providers, and other third parties to identify the culprits. The court approved, allowing subpoenas and depositions for a restricted time, but despite follow-ups and extensions, the plaintiffs couldn't identify anyone. By March 2017, the case was voluntarily dismissed without prejudice. This example shows Samantha Katz knew how to handle anonymous defendants and court procedures, unlike in Blake's case, where no permission or formal letters were sought. Adding to the suspicion, Vans Incorporated's only activity was shipping fabric, doors, and furniture to Blake and Ryan's Westchester home.
So what they were doing was hoping that they would be able to subpoena these different ad companies that were like selling email addresses and marketing companies that were using these lists to see if they could figure out who was posing as them and fraudulently, getting people to sign up for sweepstakes that weren't there.
And get this, the shipment was addressed to Molly Caro. So, who is she? Molly is an executive assistant at Vision PR, a firm owned by Leslie Sloan. This connection suggests the lawsuit was essentially filed by a PR company, revealing the underlying intentions behind the subpoenas. Ever since these details came to light, Molly has completely wiped her social media accounts, adding another layer of intrigue to the story. In Toro 11. At the end of the day, Blake Lively's actions have raised serious questions, which is why even the court seems skeptical. It's clear to anyone following the case that her team filed the lawsuit mainly to mislead the court, and it came just 1 month after they obtained Abel's phone. The court's reaction is unpredictable, and at this stage, Blake could potentially face major consequences.
So, what do you think?
Is Blake really in hot water for these moves, and will Justin finally be able to put this drama behind him? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to check out the next update.